We have no idea what other people are managing or working through while they're living their day-to-day life. Why are we asking people to spend the energy they have explaining to other people their needs?
Well, since I was 4 years old, I've been diagnosed with a massive craniopharyngioma. And if most of you don't understand what that is, it's a brain tumor.
You can't judge a book by its cover. That just because someone looks quote unquote normal, they might be struggling with a lot of things. There's been a lot of times when people just haven't believed that Catherine had a disability before she was in a chair now permanently. We taught her from a young age that she could advocate, be respectful, but that she deserved to get the help that she needed. And so she would be a very good self-advocate.
When he was born, before we were leaving the hospital, so within 24 hours, they do the infant hearing screening. And he didn't pass that, but everyone was like, oh, he was just born, it could be fluid in the ears, no big deal. And then they started to think, well, we should get a more in-depth test done. So we went to the audiologist, and they did find that, that it was showing that he had hearing loss. There's a lot of gray area that kids with invisible disabilities kind of fall into. So if a child is not responding quickly, or one thing that William does is oftentimes someone will, out of the blue, speak to him, and if he's not looking at them directly, he might not understand what they're saying. He just doesn't pick it up. So he often looks at me, and because he's 10, the adult's like, okay, why is this child not responding to me? And I'll be like, he has hearing loss, you'll need to speak louder, or I'll repeat it for my son. But it seems to be the automatic response is like, it's a rude child, it's a disobedient child. And I think the big thing I would want people to know is just like, have some compassion that there are more things that could be happening to just label them as, a bad kid.
So our experience with an invisible disability is what I would call a cognitive impairment as a result of illness. So for 2 years, my husband battled cancer, and one of his recurrences was 2 tumors in his brain. As soon as his initial recovery had passed, and so it was, if he can physically get himself into the appointment, he's not allowed to have someone else go with him. Just because he can physically get himself into an appointment doesn't mean that he doesn't need support in terms of like memory and retention. So for him, it would be, in a medical appointment especially, they're gonna dump a lot of information at you really quickly, and he was able to process it in the moment, and he would like nod and yep, okay, I'm with you, and then literally the second he would walk out of the appointment, has no recollection of what was just explained to him. But because he looked like he could get himself to the appointment, he needed to do that independently in terms of the rules. I think the barrier, the frustration is the feeling like you need to justify what you're asking for. So I don't think, we never felt like we weren't willing to say we need an accommodation. But it was the perceived judgment or the frustration around how that request was received. So it was like, now I need to plead my case with you as to why I need a companion to go to appointments or to go to things, because you can't tell why I need it, but I'm telling you I do.
Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you want pity. I don't want pity for Catherine, and Catherine doesn't want pity. We just want the world to be a better place where she can do what other people can without so many barriers.
Just because somebody doesn't look like they have a disability doesn't mean there isn't one there.
If everybody approached life from the perspective that everybody's just doing the very best they can with whatever the situation is that they're faced with, we'd have a lot more grace. Like, we'd just let a lot more people do the best that they can, and that's good enough.